you do have a fan base here you don't want to disengage. This is a team that does get good radio ratings, does get good TV ratings. They don't want to kind of cut off that fan base and then come back when this new stadium's built in 3 years and say, oh, yeah, remember us. Yeah, come back and support us.
Our friend Marc Topkin covers the Rays for the Tampa Bay Times, and there's a lot of action going on in the Tampa, St. Pete area. Topper, great to have you on. So I'm going to get right to biz because it's the off season. Every team has their needs. And for me, I'm saying this mostly in seriousness. Their number one need is a home. Agree?
Oh, no doubt. The idea that they need a catcher and some more offense and a few other things is definitely secondary. They've got to get this situation figured out. It's not just up to them either. I mean, MLB is involved in this. There's some political issues going on here locally as far as where they should play. But yeah, as we sit here today, I know AJ's upset about the holiday Starbucks Cup already, but the commissioner said he hopes to have this resolved by Christmas, and I think that that's probably sooner the better for the Rays. I mean, they literally don't know. There's certainly we can narrow down some options through a lot of logic and some breadcrumbs that the commissioner's dropped in his comments, but there's been no decision. The Rays haven't said anything as far as their preferences, so I'm not sure.
So should this be a Major League Baseball problem, or should this be a Rays problem to figure out and Major League Baseball to say yay or nay to the solution?
I think it probably has to be a little bit of both, because I think MLB is going to have to facilitate this, especially if it's one of the local spring training parks. I mean, I don't know that the Rays. Well, I mean, it'd be interesting if the Rays owner Stu Sternberg called the Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner and said, "Hey, what would you charge us to use your facility for the season?" That'd be a hell of a. You guys could probably like close circuit that or something, but. I think MLB is going to have to get involved. The commissioners also said that they'll be open to some schedule changes if they go to one of these spring stadiums that has a minor league team. Then that schedule is going to have to be adjusted somewhere along the way. So it starts with the city of St. Pete. They're responsible for the Trop. They had the insurance policy on it. There should be a report in the next week. It was supposed to be today. It looks like it's pushed back a few days. A rough estimate of the cost and the viability of fixing it, because there's so many layers to this. I don't want to drag this out on you guys, but are they only looking for a home for a few months because the Trop could be fixed at some point this season? Are they looking for a home for 1 year and the Trop will be ready to go for next year? Or is the Trop not going to be fixed and they're looking at a 3-year home until their planned new stadium is going to be built? And oh, by the way, that's not as 100% official as we thought, because there's still some votes coming up on some bonds. And obviously there's a lot of other needs in this community right now, given the damage of the hurricane. So there's a lot of questions here, but it's about 4 months and a week or two until opening day on March 27th. The Rays are supposed to host the Rockies, and they don't know where that game's going to be.
So this is my question for you. I've heard the Yankees obviously is a viable option, okay? But do they want to do that if you're the Rays? Not only because it's the Yankees, but also because you would prove a lot of people right that say they should build their stadium across the bridge in Tampa anyways. And if all of a sudden in Tampa they get, they sell out Steinbrenner Field at whatever it holds, 10, 12,000 every night, and then people are like, well, maybe we shouldn't build the stadium across the bay in St. Pete and we should move it over to where everyone said by Amalie Arena and the convention center and all that in downtown Tampa. Is that something they're looking at? Because I've heard Dunedin is a possibility. I've heard Clearwater is a possibility. But if they're going to be there for 3 years and I'm Dunedin and I'm the Blue Jays, I'm like, yeah, MLB, let's fix our stadium up to big league standards. So for years on end, our spring training home is awesome and people want to come here. If I'm the Phillies, I'm like, yeah, put hundreds of millions into our spring training home to make it better. I don't know. There's like all these things and none of them is a good option for the Rays.
Are you saying people might be selfish when they come to trying to provide a solution here? And it won't all be done out of benevolence and what's best for the best interests of baseball?
Come on.
I mean, there's a lot of layers to this. Yeah, I mean, sure, I think if they do play in Tampa and they do, it holds about 10-5, maybe they can put some bleachers up and get a couple thousand more in there. Sure, will that give some people a chance to say, oh, I told you so? Well, there never was a legitimate way to build that stadium in Tampa. They tried that a couple times. They never felt there was a deal that would work for them. So I don't know that gives you a chance to say I told you so, but I don't think it's revisionist history. I don't think that changes what they're planning to do in St. Pete. If it's 3 years versus 1 year, I think you also wonder, will they end up going to a different location, because those summers, and I know it was back, I think it was in 1997, AJ, you played in the Florida State League. I don't know if you guys they had cars and buses or whatever back then, or how you got around horseback or something.
Horse and buggy.
Yeah, you know there's going to be a lot of nights of rain delays, of BP getting banged, of pitchers not be able to throw pens, of games being delayed. I mean, it's drainage is improved, staff's improved, having MLB grounds crews will help and all that. And maybe you start the games at 8 and you wait till those daily showers get done with, and just take the rain delay as part of your schedule. But it's going to be a challenge, and I think the 1 year, 3 year thing is a big part of where the solution is. I think what they don't want to do is have to move a bunch of times. I mean, the idea was floated early on, play in one of these spring training parks in April, May, and June, and then go share with the Marlins in rainy season. But then you're moving during the season, you're relocating, which is also vaguely similar to the plan the Rays had once pitched of playing half the seasons here and half the seasons in Montreal. But we won't get into that right now.
So what's the deal with the Trop? I mean, do you think that it's actually going to be repaired to be playable? It sounded like there was a report, it might have been from your paper, I don't remember, but about the insurance premiums changing. I know that MLB and the Rays aren't suddenly going to be like, sure, let's pay $200 million to re-roof this place or to make it playable as an outside park, which is still just stupid anyway, when they're leaving soon, and even just using up resources and construction and all that in an area that has so much to build back up.
Yeah, I mean, all good points. I do think, just to clarify, one thing is it is the city of St. Pete that has the insurance policy, so they'll have to pay the costs of fixing the stadium. But you're exactly right. I mean, just driving around St. Pete, there are still many people whose lives are still out by the curb, that had to take everything out of their house, and it hasn't been picked up yet. It's a massive undertaking to clean up all the debris here throughout St. Pete. I live out on St. Pete Beach. The barrier islands obviously even hit even harder. But no, I think that's one of many equations in this is, what will it cost to fix the Trop? How long will it take to fix the Trop? Is it worth fixing the Trop? You do have this 3 year window, but like I said, there's a little bit of things that have to happen for that new stadium to become official. And you even wonder is, will this cause any delay, even if it all goes smoothly on the paperwork standpoint? Does this delay the start of the new stadium in any way? I don't know this, but I'm just asking. Supplies are going to be at a premium. Workforce is going to be at a premium. There's so much else to be done here. And this also was a pretty aggressive time frame to start sometime in 25 and plan to play there in 28. So what if it became an extra year and you need 4 years of an interim home? Does that add to the thought process fixing the Trop? So there's so many layers to this decision, and they all need to be made pretty soon.
All right, a couple questions here. Would they move? I mean, Orlando would be great. We'd love to build a ballpark for you guys and be the Orlando Rays. You could play at Disney for a couple of years, have the lockers with no seats in them. I mean, the Rays have done that before, so would they move? And Oakland's wide open, right? Oakland would love to welcome you guys out there. I mean, the Oakland Rays in the AL East would be amazing for travel, but Major League Baseball's never really cared about that. So, I mean, you could fly cross country every third day and be like, yeah, look at this. It's an easy schedule for the Rays.
I don't think MLB would want to put a team in Oakland when they just endorsed the current team to leave, right? But that
we just said, though, common sense doesn't really fall hand in hand sometimes. So, it's a ready-made ballpark for them.
Well, yeah, it's great condition too, right? I mean, it'd be hard to imagine moving into a worse place, right? And they could somehow. I mean, I think Montreal I thought was a very legitimate option. Then just doing some reporting found out that's unavailable. They're doing a massive construction project there, ironically, on replacing the roof. Durham wondered about that. Then the Durham Bulls, obviously a very successful AAA team, they came out and said that they're willing to help their parent, but they can't allow them to play there the whole season. Obviously, that would disrupt their own schedule too much. So, I mean, could they move? I guess. And if it was a 3 year thing versus a 1 year thing, maybe that makes it even more so. But I think the initial comments from the commissioner provide the best guidance, which is his preference. And he said they're planning to do everything they can to make it work to keep them local, because you do have a fan base here you don't want to disengage, right? And make all the jokes you want about it's 3 guys or whatever. nobody cares, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a team that does get good radio ratings, does get good TV ratings, and they don't want to kind of cut off that fan base and then come back when this new stadium's built in 3 years and say, oh, yeah, remember us. Yeah, come back, support us. And so if there's some way to kind of keep that continuity, I think that would be the preference. But, again, coming back to, is the Trop back in play or not, or are you looking for a 3-year home is really a major issue here.
Level of courting did the Rays actually put on Juan Soto? Because AJ, I try to equate it, AJ in high school wrote a letter to Heidi Klum to see if they could go out on a date. Is that similar to the Rays talking to Juan Soto?
She said yes, by the way. She said yes, but I told her she lived too far away.
I got to
no long distance.
I got to think the Rays have a better chance of hooking up with Juan Soto than AJ did with Heidi Klum. But,
no, that's not true. She asked me to come be her umbrella person at her Sports Illustrated shoot, but I said no. Who wants to go to Fiji in the wintertime? Not me.
Yeah, you'd be really bored there. No scenery or anything. Look, I think the Rays, I mean, it got reported. I have no doubt it happened, but I also have covered this team, forever basically, and know how they operate pretty well. And, do they check it? They check in on every player. It's kind of like, I think that would be kind of baseball front office malpractice if you didn't, right? And, sometimes with the way they handle this, and this isn't firsthand saying this is exactly how the conversation went, but they tell the player, they tell the agent, look, you know what we have to offer. If we're not going to outbid everybody for this, $600 million 15-year deal or whatever it's going to be. But if that doesn't materialize, he doesn't like the options, and he wants to do a 1 or 2 year deal at a place, that's, near home for him, that offers a conducive environment, a winning team, no state income taxes, whatever, is the right one that appeals, we'd be willing to talk. They've had those conversations before with some big name players. Obviously, they had an initial conversation about Freddie Freeman a couple years ago, and that took on some real life, and that came down to the wire. He picked the Dodgers. It seems like that worked out okay for him and for them. But I do think that that's a legitimate thing, but I also don't think it's a realistic thing, if that makes sense to parse those two words that way.
Copper. I mean, what's the Rays free agent pitch? Hey, come here. We don't know where we're playing for the next 3 to 4 years. It's not Sacramento, but it could be the Phillies spring training. It could be the Braves spring training. It could be the Blue Jays spring training. It could be Oakland. We don't know, but come here and sign with us. We're going to do great.
Well, I know you're a loyal Tampa Bay Times reader, so I'll spoil your Sunday column for you a little bit early because I know you'll be waking up to read it. But I asked Eric Neander that basic question the other day, and he said, look, everyone knows what our situation is. We don't know the answer right now. What we do know is we have a great track record of treating players well. We have a great track record of being a successful team. We have a great coaching staff that's well known throughout the industry. People like playing for this group. And we assume that people will trust us that we're going to get this figured out as soon as we can. So it's not a bad pitch, but also let's be realistic here. They don't bid for the top free agents realistically. They're not in the running for these guys. They're usually going for the guys that are available toward the end of the offseason or middle, that have maybe 1 or 2 other offers, a 1-year deal, a 2-year deal. There are some exceptions. The Zach Eflin deal, they kind of jumped the market on that a couple of years ago. But for the most part, they're not competing with the teams where player's going to say, well, no, I'm not even going to think about you guys. You don't have a situation here. But is it a hindrance? Is it a factor? Absolutely. I don't think any player is going to sign with them until they know, at least, like if the Rays were to say, hey, it's going to be Clearwater or Tampa, we're just working out the details, see which ownership group we can work this out with. You can still live in this area. We're going to play here. Okay, now you still got to deal with the summer and the heat and all that, but at least they knew. But, yeah, I don't think a player can sign if they don't know if they're going to have to live in Orlando or if they're going to be living here in the Tampa Bay area or they're going to be moving during the season or they could end up at one of these out-of-state locations. I mean, we did a little research on this, and maybe you guys knew this. I didn't until looked it up. The largest stadium, taking Oakland out, the largest baseball stadium in the country without a full-time, full-season occupant, Omaha, Nebraska, home of the College World Series. Maybe they go there. I mean, it might infringe on the Royals. AAA team plays nearby, but that's an available facility too. So there's all kinds of ideas you can come up with.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, Dyersville, Iowa. Let's do it.
That'd be sick.
I'm ripping Drake anyway, so here let's go back to Iowa. Sure.
Orlando, here we go. You'd love to.
That'd be a long commute for you, Topper. It's a long commute.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, by the way, Drake at Stetson in 2 weeks, AJ, if you want to go.
Where at?
At Stetson's 6,000-seat stadium somewhere in DeLand.
Well, come on down, Topper. Are you going to be there?
I'm thinking about it. I'll give you a shout.
That's too far. That's too much I-4 time for you.
Kratz, you got last licks.
Yeah. So we talked about the team. Not sure where they're going to play. What are their needs? What is it? You mentioned catcher. You mentioned, all this stuff about that's surrounding how they're going to play, all this stuff. This is a playoff contending team that took a step back last year. And what are their needs, and how are they going to address them? I'm not even talking about the pitch of, hey, you know what? Come enjoy Clearwater.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're pissed off. They finished 80-82. They've been in the playoffs 5 straight years. They had a winning record 6 straight years. That all kind of stopped last year. So they need to improve their offense. They had their worst offense in franchise history, and that includes some of those bad Devil Rays teams. This was a worse offense in a lot of the stats that you can use that show that. So they need to figure that out. They definitely need to improve at catcher. Ben Rortvedt did a good job, picked him up right before the season started. Rene Pinto was supposed to be the starter from the right hand hitting side. He wasn't very good. Alex Jackson got a way too long of a turn. He didn't do much, obviously offensively, historically bad. So they got to figure that out. I don't know that they're calling you back, Kratzy, but you did okay when you were here, so maybe so. And some other
I'm available.
They've got to find a way to boost the offense. Catcher, shortstop, AJ. Yeah, why not? I mean, you're almost 50, right? You can get in there.
I couldn't be worse. Sometimes I feel like that, even though I might be.
You know what? After watching their catchers try to hit this year, I'm actually in full agreement with you. You could not be worse. I am fully on board with that.
Yeah.
So, maybe look, shortstop. Taylor Wall's a great defensive player, but obviously they didn't get much offense there. They like Caminero at third. They like Brandon Lau at second. They just picked up his option. They keep Yandy Diaz. He's back. They want to find Aranda some at bats. Josh Lowe's a really good player who had a bad year last year. Siri is arbitration eligible. You got to live with the bad, but the good can be pretty promising in center. They could use another outfielder. I mean, they like Johnny DeLuca that they got in the Dodgers trade, but probably could do a little better, or another fourth outfielder. And then, look, they got a ton of pitching. They've got a starting pitcher to trade. They've got 7, or if Rasmussen goes back into the rotation, they've got 8 starters. So everybody wants starting pitching. They should be able to find a way to trade a pitcher to get some offense. Maybe you sign a lesser or 2 free agent once you know where you're going to play. And then they feel like they can go from there with a really good group of prospects that are going to move from AA to AAA this year, and maybe a couple even in the big leagues by the end of the season.
Topper, yes or no question. Will Wander Franco ever play in the big leagues again?
I mean, I don't have the expertise to answer that, but I've learned a lot more about the Dominican legal system than I ever thought I would have to. It seems like between the legal issues with the Dominican, the immigration issues of getting a visa when you have these type of issues against you, and MLB still has to weigh in on this. That investigation is kind of like paused, waiting for the end of the legal system. But on the other hand, I don't know that I can tell you no, and I also know that the Rays have $172 million pending that they owe him, that the answer to that question determines what happens with that money.
True. I mean, I say whatever. The chances that he's allowed in the country, from what I've read, are pretty low right now, just on that alone, on the court case.
Right. But, look, there's a court date set. I think it's December 12th. If just hypothetically, if he were to be cleared of all charges, if MLB were to do its investigation, assess some type of suspension, even if it was a year or 2, at the end of that, he's still got a valid contract. And then I think it would be a very interesting situation to see if the Rays or any other team at that point, if they were to engage in conversations, would want to put him back out on the field. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. All right. So then we'll mark it about a month from now. We'll see what happens there. Topper, thank you. A lot of action going on off the field for the team. Hopefully next time we chat, there will be a more permanent temporary home for the Rays. Appreciate it, man.
No problem, guys. Anytime.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.